Okay, let's go in your book up to page 12, which is the Wild Side of Life introduction. Basically, this is proving nothing but how the F lever might work in a melody or in the chord progression as well, because we're going to take the introduction here and we're going to use a little of the A, B, and the D combination there like we were just speaking of. But most of all, we're just going to take the one problem of how does the F lever work maybe in a new key, like in the key of F, because that's how this song goes. It uses F and B flat and C. And we'll see how the F lever comes out to be the F7th that leads to B flat, and we'll see how the F lever uses the C to C7th, getting us back to the root chord of the F there. But we'll take the introduction first and see how it works sort of as a melody, and then we'll take a little short version on page 13 there, which is the verse or the chorus. They're both being the same thing, the same kind of chord progression. So let's go right in the book and let's take the introduction first. Right there on page 12, the pickup notes starting with the 13 A and the B, and starting with, and then the band will pick us up right there on the C, 15 with the pedal, and then quickly back to that 11F, which is the C7th, and then up to the 13 A, B, and the D, which is another form of that C9th, that little combination we were talking about. Quickly back to the other C7th, 11F. Now we're down on line 2 there. And then a little fill on the end uses that C7th. And then down to the 8A and B. And a little walk up, we call it, getting to where the singer's coming in, the 11F to 12F. Turns in sort of a diminished sound here to 13. So in time, the whole thing sounds like this. It'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is along with a rhythm track so you can get the idea, and you can play this or not, whichever way you like it. If you like it, let's practice it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Go. And that's it, pure and simple, the easy way to do it. Let's go right on to page 13, though, and let's take the actual verse and chorus, because this is what we're really after. This one starts with our bar down on 1, because that's an F. We're going to establish the 3 fret up position. It starts with a measure of F, or 4 beats right first, like 1, 2, 3, 4, up to the 4 with the F lever, which gives us that F7th, because we're going to B flat, and then 4 beats of the B flat on 6. And then an inversion below it, 6, 8, 4, 5, and 6. Then right to a C on 8, 4 beats. Then 3 frets up to that F lever, gives us C7th because we're going to F. And then up to 13 for the F. And then down to 8A and B. Now here's where it's not written as a split, but as you hit that 8A and B, the band is going to hit a real quick little walk up getting back into F. So you can hit like 2 beats of 8A and B if you want to. And then quickly turn loose of the pedal and hit a C real quick, because that'll lead back to the second line. So it's written as 4 beats of 8 and A and B. But make a fast C in there if you want to. Now we go to the second line. Starts with an F on 8 with pedal. And then we can run down to that 4F to give us that F7th again. And then up to the 6 for the B flat. And let's use that other inversion of 3 frets up using the A and F for the major, B flat. This brings us to a C7th twice now. We use 1 inversion up high on strings 3, 4, and 5, 11F, and then right below it, and then back to that 13, and 8A and B. And it's a very simple, straightforward little progression of F, B flat to C, but it shows how the F lever can come in. Here we go. I'll do the introduction, which is page 12, and then we'll do page 13. Could be the verse and the chorus. Here it is. 1. Page 12 first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That 13 is the first part of that first line. The B flat here. Now the C. C7, F, 8, split it, second line, F7, B flat, 9A and F, C7, now the F, down to 8 pedals, start again, line 1, F7th, and the B flats, now C, C7th, F, second line, B flat, C7th, and the last measure. Here comes the turnaround. Back to page 12. Back to the first line, page 13. Back to line 1. Coming to the end now. Back to C right there, the C7th. And the very end, the F. And that's kind of a real easy song. The tempo is very simple, very straightforward in that one. It's right easy to play. So we'll come right back and we'll take up another song and put the two together. Let's change keys now, and let's also change songs and have some fun. In a way, it'll be a little bit more practical because we're going to take up a song that everybody knows. The song we're going to is the fourth one on your tape there, so cue up A Way to Survive. It's number 4 there. And also go in your book there to pages 14, 15, and 16. And we're going to take a song that takes more than 3 chords, first of all, and we're going to combine the F lever and the B and the D, or the A, B, and the D, and put it all together. Now this will take a lot more thought. If you thought this was hard up to now, maybe you ought to retrace your steps a little bit and make sure you get your patterns well in mind, because we're going to take 4 chords and 3 of them are going to use the 7th form each time, because they're going to be making that connection from one to the other that uses the 7th. This song is a perfect example of how those 7th chords can really make it flow much better. In A Way to Survive, we're going to be in the key of C, and the normal chords in C are C, F, and G. Well, we can use the G7th quite a lot, and we can use the C to the C7th quite a lot, going to the F, especially in the chorus. But this song is unique because it does what we call the 2 chord in it, and it goes from C to D, which is kind of a rare chord in the key of C. But any time we go to that D chord, in every instance, it goes from D to a G chord, which is an up 5 movement, or like a 2 to a 5 if we're going to speak in terms of numbers. Anytime you use that D chord, it ought to be a D7th, because it must move to that G. And it fits our formula perfectly. So keep in mind what we're going to be doing here. We'll go through the chord progression a little at a time, and then we'll do it on the paper so it makes a little bit more sense. But we'll see how the F lever fits and the B and the D, and we'll put the 2 together. Going right to the chorus first here on the board, we'll see how our song actually starts in C, and it's just 2 measures of C, like 4 beats there, 4 beats there. And then we can hit a D or a D7th because it's the 2 chord, or we want it to be a 7th because the next thing that follows is a G or a G7. So you're going to see on pages 15 and 16 that we're going to use a D7th nearly every time, and then we're going to use a G or a G7th because this is the dominant 7th, or it is leading back to C nearly every case. Then in the second half, it's the same idea. When we get to the Ds, it's going to be 7ths. It's going to be Gs or G7ths, and then it's going to be C. And the very last chord here in the verse is going to be C7th because we're going to F. Way up over here in the chorus, it goes to F. But look out, this really gets busy. This is tough here because we start with F, and it goes just 4 beats of F, and then it goes 4 beats of G, but we want to use G7th because it's going to C. But quickly, it's going to an F on the end, so we're going to use G7th straight to C7th to tell everybody this thing is progressing from G7th to C7th, but it's going to F. Then it's going back to C, and then we have a quick G7. So all of these kind of break all the rules of every 8 beats. It's every 4 beats this time. So we've got 4 beats of G7th, 4 beats of C, then a quick G7th again because we're leading back to C. Then we're back to almost the same repetition as we had in the verse. It's a couple of measures of C, a couple of measures of D or D7th, then a couple of measures of G or G7th, and back to C. What we're seeing here is that this song is a perfect example of how songs do and chords do progress in that up 5 movement. And that's why we see so much of the C7th many times, is because songs do fit that formula. They always seem to go from C to F. That's a perfect C to C7th. They always seem to go from G to C, or from D up to G, and so forth. So this song is telling us a lot more than just a simple C, F, and G change might. And many country songs use this C to the from the 1 to the 2 chord type thing. And you'll see if you want to play this song to see how different and vanilla it can be, try playing this song with no 7ths in it, and then try playing it like we have it on page 14, 15, and 16, and you'll hear a drastic difference in the way the chords flow. We won't do that because you can do this on your own, but just play straight majors all the time, and then change it over and play the 7ths in there, and you'll see it has a nice spark to it if you have the 7ths in it. Okay, let's go right to the guitar and right on to page 14, 15, and 16, and you'll see what I'm talking about. We'll play this thing along with the sheet music. We'll do the introduction first, which is right there on page 14. The pickup notes start on 15 and come right down from 15 to 13. And this is where the band will pick us up. We start with a G here because this is how the introduction goes. It's the last line. 2 beats of G. Then we do a nice G7th right there. The 8, A, B, and D, G9. Back to the other G7th, 6 F. Then we're going to go back to the 8, A, and B, which gives us another G7th. Look at all those G7ths we're using in there in combination. Now we're going to line 2. And then quickly, a nice G7th, 8, A, B, and D. Back to the 6 F and the 8, A, and B. Now there is a lot of G7ths and combinations here. Here it is sort of in time, page 14. 3, 4, or 1, 2, I'll count it as we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You can play that any way you want to phrase it as long as you get them all in there. Here we go. Let's do it along with a rhythm track so you can hear the whole thing, just the introduction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, go. And this leads us to page 15. Well, okay, let's go to 15. If you like doing that little intro, stop right here and practice it. If not, let's go right on, and you can do it all together. Let's go to page 15, the first line. This is the chords to the song. Starts with a measure of C right there, the top line, page 15. Just 4 beats of C, and then another inversion of that C. Now, here's where we want to play a D9th or a D7th. We never even want to hit the D major, so stay right there. And remembering that D might be on 5 with pedal we're dropping back 2 frets, and that's how the D9 comes there. 3 with the A, B, and D. 4 beats of that, and then let off the A pedal to give us the 7th. Now we're at the G's. Now it wants to go from G to G7, so we go right up to 6F, and then up to C, and then a quick G7, drop straight back to 6F. Now we're in the second line on page 15. Starts again with C, and another C up on 11A and F, straight to a D7th, which gives us a D7th on 13. We never do hit the 10, and that's how it got to be D7th. And then another inversion of that D7th on strings 3, 4, and 5. And then a quick G major on 10 with pedal. A quick G7th or G9th right there on 8, A, B, and D. And then a C. Now we're going to the chorus, which is on page 16, but we want to tell everybody that the chorus is coming, so we're going to hit a quick C9th, way up on 13, A, B, and D. And remember how it got that way. If we thought of C being on 15 with both pedals, back up 2 frets with A, B, and D, and that's how the C9th got there. Now, page 16, the top line, and a quick F, a quick G. We'll keep it simple for right now, straight G major, and then a quick C7th, and a close one is 11 with the F lever. That's 3 frets up from 8, by the way. And then down to F on 8 with pedals, then a quick C, 6F for a G7th, and a quick C, another inversion, a quick G7th. The last line now on page 16 starts with a C. Another C, way up on 15 with both pedals. Now D7th being an octave above the first one we did, 15 with the B and the D. And drop down, we'll make it a D9th. And we'll use G major now down on 10 with both pedals. And a G7th on 8 with a B and D. And a quick C, and another C up on 15. Now this is where the turnaround will come, so this will lead us really back to 14, and we're in the right spot. Page 14 gives us, and so forth. So let's take this whole thing along in time. We'll do the introduction, and then we'll do pages 15 and 16, the verse and the chorus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Page 15, the D9th, 4 beats at a time, the G, G7, the C, a quick G7th, line 2, another C, D7th, another D7th, now G, G7th or G9th, C, C9th, here comes that chorus, page 16, F, G, C7th, F, C, G7, C, and now a G7, bottom line, page 16. Now the D7th, D9th, G, G7th, now C. Going to the turnaround now. Back to the top of page 15. Second line.
It's not healthy, they say, to relive yesterday. But for me, it's a way to survive.
Page 16.
I must cling to what's gone. If I'm to go on, I can't face the future. I've tried.
Bottom line, page 16.
Perhaps for the rest, looking back isn't best, but for me it's the way to survive.
We're going to do the last line now. Back up 4 bars to the G.
For me
10 A and B, 8 B and D.
to survive.
That's a neat little song because it feels good, and really, you can do nearly all the fills as fancy as you really need them in here, just playing the chord progression. Now, I was cheating a little bit in there by reaching out and hitting maybe the 1st string, or maybe hitting the 3rd string and then the 4th or something like that. But basically, all I was thinking was the basic little chords, and using that D7th every chance I got. I was using the G7th every chance I got. You do the same thing. Put a little feel into this thing. Squeeze the pedals. Let them in and out. Literally be sloppy about it. The sloppier you are and the worse you have the technique, sometimes the better this thing comes out. Overall, don't just play it all off the sheet music, though. Let's play it with some understanding. Know why you're playing the 7ths and where they are. Don't just copy what I've done. This is really getting into the thick of it. We're going to come back here and take up another way to play a 7th, so it's going to get really tight here in a little bit. We've only taken 2 ways. We've got a 3rd way that really ties them all together and makes it a lot more fun, but you have to do a lot more thinking too. All right, stop right here and make sure you understand what we have up to this point, and we'll take some new ground here in just a minute. All right, it's your turn. Go to page 17 in your book there, and let's look at something. The top line on page 17 is just talking about G, and we're going to back to the 1st track, so we're going to be dealing with just G chord for a couple of measures. And then we're going to talk about this D to a D7th that we've used previously. We once used D on 10, and then went maybe from D on 10 up to 13F. And that was our F pedal formula or pattern that we used. There's another one that we have used for years using just the A pedal, and that's what we see there on the top line on page 17, going from a D on 10 back to 8 with the A pedal in. Now, a lot of my students hear that and they say, wait a minute, that's going to a minor chord. And that's true, 8 with the A pedal down. That sounds exactly like a minor chord, and that's true, it is a minor chord, but it's just part of a D9 chord, literally. If I add it all together, if I add maybe a D note in there, and I can get that on the 1st string, it really is a full D9 chord as well as a minor. So the two substitute for each other. The main thing is just forget that it's a minor or sounds like a minor and think of it as a 9th. So if we have a D on 10, we can always play a D7th or a D9th because they do transpose, and there's part of a 7th in there too. You can always drop 2 frets to the left from 10 to 8 if you hit the A pedal. Now notice we're going from a no pedal position, a D on 10, back 2 frets and hitting the A pedal. And that'll give us D9th. Well, we could use that little formula anytime. Let's suppose maybe we were playing an A and we wanted an A7th or an A9th. We could think, well, if 5 with no pedals is an A, you could always drop back 2 frets from there to 3 and hit the A pedal, and that would give you an A7th or an A9th. So what we have is a new pattern. Let's look at all 3 real quick, though, and compare them, though, before we go too far. We're talking about a D there on page 17, the second half of the line. A D to a D7th might be 10 to 8A, or using the old pattern we used using the F lever, a D might be on 10, and we could go up depending on what we want to hear. It's at our discretion, isn't it? We could go to 13F. So we have 2 choices from the no pedal position, and that's what we're trying to get in focus here, is the fact that we do have choices. And there are a lot of ways. We can go from a D on 10 back to 8A, or we can go from a D on 10 up to 13F. There's several ways of getting to a 7th then from a no pedal position. Okay, let's concentrate on the track number 1 on your rhythm tracks, because it just uses G and D7th, and let's get the sound of this and the feel of it. So here we are, page 17, couple of measures of G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're using this inversion of D there on 10. It could be any inversion, but we're using strings 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's go to 6A and F for a G. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a G down on 3. Now let's use that D that might be on 5 with both pedals down. Now again, we can go from that D there up to the 8A that we just said was D9. So I could come from either direction. This is another pattern. Be careful that you get these things straight in your mind. We can go from 10, no pedals, back to 8A, and that gives us D7th, or we can go 5 with pedals up to 8A. So it works both ways, doesn't it? Line 1 says go back. Line 2 says you can go up from a pedal down position for the D. Now, as the string combination changes, the voicing changes. Listen to how nice this sounds. Let's use the 3rd, 4th, and 5th string on 10. There's a different sound, 10 to 8A, or 4, 5, and 6. Or listen to the one that's 5, 6, and 8. This is particularly nice. Well, we hear that a lot on record. Or maybe 6, 8, and 10. Nice sound there, and the same is true when you use the 5A and B, like as in the second line. A lot of nice melodies going there, a lot of nice chord progressions going there. So let's take just page 17, line 1 and 2, and let's play along with the first track to kind of get this pattern in our mind, because it shows us both ways to get the 8A. Track number 1.
2. 1, 2, 3.
Here we go.
4.
Line 2. Back to the first line. Line 2. Back to the top, line 1. Line 2. And so forth. And we can do that over and over again. And we'll get a lot of nice little things there, playing around with the pedals and maybe moving the bar left and right. The important thing is you get a real nice D9. Well, let's take some things and kind of tie them all together. Let's go to page 18, because this is not a hard pattern, but let's put A, B, and D, or A and B, or the B and the D lever style, and the F lever, and the A pedal together. Looking at page 18, the top line, we can start with the G using the same track now, because we just want to deal with the D to the D7. We'll start with a couple of measures of G right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll use a D on 5 with pedals. And our first little inversion, the D to the D9th, is the down 2 position from 5 pedals. So we're following the formula perfectly. 5 pedals. Now that 3, A, B, and D could be 2 things, couldn't it? Let's kind of recall how things can happen. It can be A, B, and D, or it can just be the B and D. So you might want to do both. Use the D7th or the D9th. And then again we start with G for 2 measures. And you can use 5 pedals again. But in this case, we don't want to go down, we want to go up. Let's go up to 8A. Now we're going to the second line. Let's use the G on 10 with pedals this time. And we use the D there on 10, but use strings 3, 4, and 5. Now in this case, we're going to use the F lever for the D7th. And then we go to G on 15.